Alright, out of work. Wrestlemania Weekend begins now. Wish me luck. I'm on my way to meet Cheyenne and Matthew at Axxess. Alright, just got out the train in Brooklyn. I'm waiting for my cab. There's a guy here that has a sign for the shuttles, but I'm not gonna put myself on a bus full of wrestling fans. I'll pay the $7. Better than nothing, right?
Better than nothing.
All right, we're moving a little bit now because Cheyenne left our asses to go be in the front. Yeah. I mean, I skipped all these people, so fuck it. As you can see, I had the intentions of filming my entire Mania Weekend experience because I'm Bosch and I record everything, roll the footage. I think after a while I realized it was just going to be a lot of me looking pissed off and walking through crowds, waiting in line to meet wrestlers. So I decided I would just take this opportunity to just talk about my Mania Weekend experience and just show a bunch of pictures and videos. So my Thursday started off, I left work early. I went to the Brooklyn Pier to meet up with Cheyenne, Matthew, and Xavier for Axxess. Now, I did the Axxess experience before in 2013, but I really didn't like the way it was set up, going around the corridor or waiting in line in the arena and moving up and down the seats to meet wrestlers. So I didn't really get to meet many people outside of Tamina, Rikishi, doing the magazine cover with Alicia Fox, and bumping into Alex Riley or Sami Zayn in the corridors. So I was really excited to do the experience, a real experience for the first time. So we get there. The first thing that attracts me is the Mattel Superstar line. So I was excited to see all the new figures that were coming up, all of the retro figures, which I love, and like the holy grail was the Diesel Mattel figure. I really wanted to meet Alexa Bliss, and her line was ridiculously long, and they pretty much told me, hey, there's no chance of meeting her. So we kind of split up, and the guys went to one of the autograph lines. I went to the pro photo line. It was originally to meet Natalya, Leo Rush, and Aleister Black. The line was ridiculously long. By the time it was almost my turn to see them, it was Mickie James, Mandy Rose, and the club. From there, it was tough to get on any lines because they were all kind of locked off, kind of hung around to see some of the matches. My friend Franklin, who directed Scarred for Life, was volunteering at the event, so I got to hang out with him for a little bit. I mean, we also took this opportunity to take advantage of a lot of the exhibits and the attractions. So we took a picture with the Boudio's cereal box. We took a picture at the DX exhibit. I had my DX JR Scar jersey for that. There was also Piper's Pit set up. I had my kilt with me as well, so I took a few pictures in there. I also had Cheyenne there as my guest on Piper's Pit. When we got there, we got to actually do an entrance, and we had trouble figuring out what entrance we wanted to do at first, and we eventually settled on doing the Shield. It was horrible, but hilarious. I was the only one character as Roman, and the other guys just walked around, but that was a lot of fun. There was also the WrestleMania 1 ring, so the guys and I got in there, took pictures together, and then one of the WWE.com photographers asked to take a picture of us, and it was actually featured on WWE.com. And Friday, I already had tickets for Axxess as well, so I kind of knew my way around for Axxess, but before Axxess, Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins were doing a autograph signing at the Superstore. So I must have gotten there around 8 o'clock. I was exhausted from the night before and just waiting online super early, but it was all worth it by the time I did finally get in there because I purchased my Stomp in Paradise shirt a few weeks earlier. The guys called me and I missed their call, so they left me this voicemail.
Ronald, I know what you did. You pressed the SU button on Hawkins and Ryder. What's up, man? Well, he didn't pick up. We can't have a conversation with him. Oh, that's how this works. Yeah. Well, thanks for buying our merch. See ya.
So I was excited to finally meet them. I had been a fan of Zack Ryder since he did his Z True Long Island story and never had the chance to actually meet him and get a picture with him, so I'm super excited. I purchased Elite figures for each of them to autograph. So I get there, they see I have my Stomp in Paradise shirt and dog tags. They sign my figures, I take a picture with them. So Zach gets up, he says, hey, let me get a picture of the three of us with your figures and the shirt, and I'll put it on the Major Pod social media. So from there, I went into my Axxess session. The line was pretty short, and I met Shinsuke Nakamura, Dana Brooke, and Cedric Alexander. From there, I got in another autograph line for Sarah Logan, Devon Dudley, but I'll refer to him as Reverend Devon because he was by himself, and AOP. because halfway through the sessions, they switch everybody out. You never know who the hell it's gonna be. So I kind of just stuck around and waited, and I saw the pro photos were for the B team, Drew Gulak and Zelina Vega, who I've been a huge fan of. So happy to see her in WWE. There was maybe about a half hour left of Axxess. All of the lines were pretty much closed off, so I went home because I had my DDP Yoga birthday workshop that evening. And for me, this was a huge deal because I've had the DDP Yoga DVDs for about 6 years, and I never actually completed the program. I committed to starting it at the beginning of the year, my New Year's resolution, to completing the program, and I completed it the week before. So it was a huge deal for me to see DDP and actually get to do the workout with him. He was a little under weather. He had laryngitis the month prior, and his daughter led the session, but it was just a great experience to see other people that are part of DDPY, and now I have signed up for the app, so I do plan to continue pursuing the DDPY program and continuing to improve and get myself in better shape and lose weight. From there, since I was already at the Wrestlecon hotel, I decided to get front row tickets to the Joey Ryan penis party, and that was a fucking experience in itself. I get there and it's Sue Young versus Tracy Smothers. There's a huge inflatable penis, just a wild event from top to bottom. I missed maybe the first 2-3 matches. It was the Twisted Sisters versus Allie and Rosemary. I saw David Arquette wrestle Timothy Thatcher and just get his ass kicked for 5 minutes, but it was awesome because I have a lot of respect for David Arquette and him just doing this when he doesn't have to 20 years later, just to kind of prove himself like, look, yeah, I know I was a joke champion, but I was really serious about this. Tommy Dreamer, Colt Cabana, John Morrison, or Johnny Impact, or Johnny Penis as he went on this show, his wife Taya, the Lucha Bros. It was that DDT Battle Royal, which I will not get into because it was the most absurd thing I had ever seen. Team Tremendous faced each other in a death match, which was fucking outrageous, full of blood. And then from there was the main event, Val Venus, Joey Ryan, Sexy Eddie versus Priscilla Kelly, Scarlett Bordeaux, and Session Moth Martina. That was a crazy match in itself, which included a human centipede and the ultimate dick flip. Priscilla Kelly came out with tampon druids after her famous tampon spot a few months ago, and they actually waxed Joey Ryan's chest. It was an interesting experience. I come home, I get some rest. The next day is Wrestlecon, and right away, the first order of business was my pro photo with Shawn Michaels, who's my favorite wrestler of all time, and I also got him to finally sign my Elimination Chamber glass from Survivor Series 2002, where I went down and grabbed the glass from the chamber after the event. And right now I have 4 of the signatures, 2 to go. I just need Triple H and Kane. From there I met Celeste Bonin, aka Caitlyn. Fun fact, she is 1 day older than me. From there I saw Crime Time. These dudes are fucking jacked. They were one of my favorite teams. Super entertaining, super talented. I got to meet Selena De La Renta. I got to take a picture and pose wearing Ric Flair's robe from Wrestlemania 18 with the World Heavyweight title belt. And I thought I rocked it well. Not as good as Cheyenne, because nobody can rock the Flair robe as well as Cheyenne does. From there, I actually had no intention of meeting Marty Jannetty, but I saw that the backdrop for his photo shoot was the barbershop window, so I couldn't pass up the opportunity to pose in front of the barbershop window. From there, I saw Chris Masters, and he put me in the master lock, but a super cool dude. I saw Felicia Rose, talked for a few minutes. I got to take a picture with her, and with the Face Fuck Me Finn sign, which is what made her famous years ago at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. She was actually at the booth with Santino Marella. He kept telling me that I look like him, or I look like I can play his cousin in his biopic, so he was super funny. From there, I met David Arquette, Eva Marie. I know people get at her because she can't wrestle, but she was always fun to watch. Jerry Briscoe, who is a legend in himself. Lillian Garcia, who I'm a huge fan of her podcast. Like, I even told her, I was like, okay, another wrestler podcast, but her podcast is always super emotional, and I get like all these wrestlers like real in-depth stories, which is always great. Then from there, it was the Spirit Squad, also a fan of their gimmick. They were super cool. Then I met Scarlett Bordeaux, who I met a few months prior, but I didn't really like how the picture turned out. I wasn't really feeling myself that day. From there, I came home, met up with Frankie to go to the MSG Ring of Honor New Japan show. So for us, this was a huge deal because we've been Ring of Honor fans since we first attended Final Battle 2006 and hung out with the Ring of Honor wrestlers after. So for us to see them work their way up from the Manhattan Center to the Hammerstein Ballroom to across the street at Madison Square Garden was a huge deal. It was a fun show. It was a pretty long show. The Battle Royal was great. Just seeing Liger and Muta in the ring at Madison Square Garden was pretty epic. The rest of the show was pretty good. The run-in by Enzo and Kaz, which we weren't sure was a work or a shoot, and I think once we saw how long they were out there, we realized, okay, this is a work. And this was shortly after we saw footage of the guy tackling Bret Hart at the Hall of Fame. fuck you. So from there, I left the show a little earlier during the main event, and I went to Dolph Ziggler's comedy show at Caroline's. I actually missed this show in August because I had a wedding to attend, so I was glad I was able to make it. He had Tyler Breeze, Ty Dillinger, and Luke Harper all join him on stage. All four of them were hilarious, and I was able to get a picture with the four of them after the show, and Ty Dillinger even posted it to his social media afterwards. So I've been all over everybody's fucking social media. It was already like 2, 3 in the morning by the time his show ended, and I went home, was able to sleep in a bit. I went on to attend Sunday morning Post Wrestling's live show at the Broadway Comedy Club. I've been a huge fan of these guys since I was still in college at the time. The majority of my senior year was just like listening to these two guys talk every day, whether it was like catching up on the Review Away. It was great to finally meet them. Two awesome guys. I'm so happy for their success and that they're still going at it. They actually inspired me to start For Life podcast, but they're doing it and it's awesome. So I was glad to meet them, and I was surprised that they actually remembered me because they never met me before. I don't really interact with them as much on social media or comment on the forums for their review shows, but I guess like Way recognized me right away. He said, "Hey, is this the Bosch?" And like John remembered the times where I would hit him up when I was interning at WWE, like, "Hey, I listened to you guys on my way to work at Stanford." So they were super cool, got some autographs and stickers from them, got a picture with them. So that show ended like around 2, so it gives me just around enough time to get home and get everything ready for Mania, which started at 5 o'clock. Mania was great for me, despite it being a long show and despite me not going to MetLife Stadium. I already had that experience 6 years ago. Nowadays, the show is way too long. The thought of traveling back at 1 or 2 in the morning was a nightmare, and from what I heard, it was, and a lot of people were stranded out there, so I'm kind of happy I didn't make the decision to go. I invited the guys over to come watch Mania with me, so this was the first time I ever hosted Mania at my place and had a chance to invite people over. That in itself was like a big deal for me, and Malik, Miguel, and Anthony all made it, and we had an awesome time, and Malik fell asleep halfway through the show. So the next day, as if I hadn't done enough, I left work early to attend What Happened When 83 Weeks show in Brooklyn with Malik and Cheyenne, hosted by Eric Bischoff, Tony Schiavone, and Conrad Thompson. So we had VIP, so we were able to meet them before the show. All 3 of them are super cool. I had met all 3 of them before. I originally bought Eric Bischoff's book for him to sign. Subconsciously, I passed it down the table, so Conrad and Tony ended up signing it as well. We all took pictures with them, and then I requested for the 3 of us to get a group picture with the 3 of them. The show was hilarious, as you can expect. All of those guys are fucking awesome. Their podcasts keep me entertained every week. It's been a great way to end my Mania week. But I had an awesome time. Just want to say thank you to everybody that I was able to share it with. Cheyenne, Xavier, Matthew, Frankie, Malik, Miguel, Anthony. Love all you guys, and thank you for an awesome experience.